Good evening and welcome to KiniNews. In the scramble to evacuate people from flood-stricken areas, face masks and hand sanitizers may be the last thing on the rescuers' minds. However, according to Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin, this could just lead to an increase in COVID-19 cases very soon.
Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin said that there could be an increase in COVID-19 cases due to the floods that struck several states over the weekend. He said the Health Ministry had informed all states to prepare to receive more COVID-19 cases.
Kementerian Kesihatan Malaysia menjangkakan disebabkan bencana banjir ini mungkin akan berlaku peningkatan kes disebabkan keadaan pemindahan yang terpaksa dibuat dalam keadaan yang sangat-sangat berisiko tinggi dan mungkin ada langkah-langkah kesihatan awam yang tak dapat dilaksanakan sepenuhnya. Kita memahami sebab keutamaan dalam kita menyelamat mangsa banjir ini adalah untuk menyelamatkan mereka dan kadang-kalanya memang tidak dapat dielakkan beberapa perkara yang sepatutnya dibuat dalam langkah kesihatan awam tak dapat dipatuhi. Kita faham. Contoh tidak ada pelitup muka dan sebagainya. You're rescuing people from the flood. That is the priority.
Khairy added that based on the Health Ministry screening as of 11 AM today, 181 individuals in temporary shelters tested positive for COVID-19. An additional 206 individuals were identified as close contacts. He said all of them has since been isolated.
Speaking of floods, this was one of the reasons mentioned when the government announced the postponement of the bill to amend Act 342 in Parliament today.
The tabling of the bill to amend the Prevention and Control of Infectious Diseases Act 1988, or Act 342, has been postponed to the next Dewan Rakyat sitting. This came following a Parliamentary Special Select Committee meeting held this morning. Health Minister Khairy Jamaluddin said the decision was made after discussions with the Prime Minister and opposition leader.
Sebab itu setelah saya bincang dengan Yang Berhormat Perdana Menteri tadi dan juga Yang Berhormat Ketua Pembangkang, maka dengan mengambil kira juga tumpuan perlu diberi kepada masalah bencana banjir buat masa ini, saya pohon Tuan Ketua untuk mengambil ketetapan yang telah dibuat oleh Jawatan Kuasa Pilihan Khas atas semangat bipartisan, atas semangat MOU kita dan bahawa menurut Peraturan Mesyuarat 62, saya mohon mencadangkan Rang Undang-Undang Pencegahan dan Pengawalan Penyakit Berjangkit Pindaan 2021 seperti dalam aturan urusan mesyuarat pada hari ini ditangguh bacaan kali kedua dan ketiga ke mesyuarat akan datang.
Khairy added that it was important to get bipartisan support for the bill so that they can get public compliance, and they needed time to address several key issues for this. On Thursday, the Dewan Rakyat sitting was extended by one day in order to debate and decide on the bill. Previously, the bill had received criticism from the opposition, who said they cannot support the bill in the form it was tabled due to concerns over the exorbitant compounds, among others.
So our MPs were supposed to debate the amendments to Act 342 this morning in Parliament. That ended up getting postponed to the next session. So some MPs decided to use the time to debate something else that's really important, but the Speaker wouldn't have any of it. It did not take long for the mercury to rise in the Dewan Rakyat today as members of Parliament raised their frustration with the government for their poor preparedness and slow response to the floods over the weekend. Despite an announcement by the Prime Minister of a 100 million ringgit post-flood allocation to rebuild homes, former Defence Minister Muhammad Sabu raised that just money alone was not the best solution.
Soalnya bukan bantuan wang itu segera, soalnya mana bot tentera, bot polis, APMM. Banyak nelayan menawarkan diri untuk bawa bot mereka. Bot nelayan tak sesuai karena dia adalah labuh di bawah. Dan memang kita stranded begitu lama. Saya sendiri stranded 8 jam di satu stesen minyak. Orang kata mana wakil rakyat tak nampak muka. Nampak muka apa stranded? Tak boleh keluar. Jadi keadaan begini cukup emergency. Tentera, polis dan sebagainya. Saya tidak tahu apa menteri dan Perdana Menteri buat ketika begini. Keadaan yang begitu teruk, dia bukan banjir biasa.
Perdana Menteri dah umumkan 100 juta.
Ini yang kita jadi masalah. Dapat markah 90% kejayaan. Tetapi kita lihat bila berlaku banjir sudah hari kedua tidak sampai lagi bantuan-bantuan yang sepatutnya telah sampai.
Dewan Rakyat Speaker Azhar Azizan Harun refused to allow the debate on flooding despite the outcry, explaining that the House cannot change topic as and when they like.
Yang lompat-lompat sebelah sana.
Oh, atap pun boleh.
Lompat-lompat sebelah sana. Sini tak ada lompat.
Buat paturan
Ya, speaker, isu rakyat. Kalau isu rakyat tak boleh bahas di sini nak bahas apa?
Tan Sri
Untuk buat peraturan lah. Jangan tepuk atap ni.
Speaker, ini isu rakyat melibatkan banjir. Dewan Rakyat bersidang. Takkan kita tak boleh bangkitkan perkara itu?
Sudahlah, duduk.
As many victims of the floods were stuck on their rooftops as water overwhelmed the Klang Valley, somebody who found his way to safety is in the spotlight after netizens voiced their upset at how he got to the chopper.
Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaqub's son-in-law, Jovian Mandagi, has denied using a government-owned helicopter to escape after being trapped due to the floods. This came after several people voiced their outrage on social media, claiming that Ismail Sabri sent a helicopter to rescue Jovian, who was stranded at his office, while many other flood victims were still trapped in their homes for hours. They alleged that he got help due to his status as the son-in-law to the Prime Minister. In a post on Instagram, Jovian denied the claims and said that he would not use something that is not his right. He said there was no need to prolong the helicopter issue. He also responded to those who asked why he didn't use the helicopter to help the people. He said it was a commercial helicopter, so you couldn't open the door to drop off aid or pick up victims. He added that those who did not like him could just unfollow him and urged his critics to do better to help the nation than just bashing what is not right about him.
We'll take a quick break, and when we're back, does everything, including an aid operation, require a flashy opening ceremony? We'll find out who might just agree with your answer to that after a word from our sponsor.
Shellfish, red meat, and beer. If you love indulging in these foods, you may end up with high uric acid level in your blood. These foods consist high level of purine, a substance that will eventually break down into uric acid and be excreted through our urine. It is recommended that the amount of dietary purines should be kept between 600 to 1000 milligrams per day. Having too much uric acid in your blood can cause attacks of gout. It can also cause kidney stones and blockage in the kidney. The crystallization of the excessive uric acid in your blood can be eased by reducing purine-rich food to only 100 to 150 milligrams daily, maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and consuming urinary alkalinizer like Ural. It consists of sodium bicarbonate, citric acid, and sodium citrate that increases the urinary pH and solubility of uric acid to prevent crystallization. Best of all, it's lemon-flavored and sugar-free. Ural, effective urinary alkalinizer. Neutralize your uric acid problem now.
Welcome back. Former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak criticized Youth and Sports Minister Faisal Azumu for having a launch ceremony to kick off their aid for flood victims, saying that there was no need for all these big backdrops and formalities. See, a lot of people agree with Najib on the criticism, including Faisal himself.
Youth and Sports Minister Ahmad Faisal Azumu has agreed with former Prime Minister Najib Abdul Razak, who had criticized him over a launch ceremony to help flood victims. In a post on Facebook, Faisal said that the event was an announcement to mobilize youth volunteers nationwide after the floods. He said he agreed that there was no need for a formal launching ceremony or digital backdrop for it, and added that the Youth and Sports Ministry will improve and correct whatever that needs to be done. The event was to launch the ministry's post-flood volunteer squad to assist in the aftermath of devastating flash floods that have hit various parts of the country following sustained heavy rain since Friday. Faisal was seen delivering a speech with a digital backdrop during the event. Following this, Najib had criticized him, saying that there is no need for a signboard or a formal launching ceremony for things like this. He said, they should just mobilize and help immediately. The country was hit by a tropical depression over the weekend. Klang and Shah Alam in Selangor were among the hardest hit areas. The floods damaged infrastructure, causing power outages and water supply disruptions.
Segambut MP Hana Yeo has raised several issues faced by the flood victims that the government will need to address. Among them is the high electric and water bills that residents will have to pay as they begin to clean up and repair their homes.
Segambut MP Hana Yeo has called on the government to exempt flood victims from paying for water and electricity this month. In a press conference today, she said this was among the matters raised by those who had been affected by the floods.
Penduduk juga minta oleh kerana kerja pembersihan yang sangat besar, mereka perlukan air selangor, Syabas, dan air selangor dan TMB, kecualikan bil mereka, bil air dan bil elektrik untuk bulan ini. Okay, kerana mereka kata pembersihan tu mengambil banyak air. Okay.
She added that clean-up efforts and repairs of homes would take time, and also asked the government to take a firm stand and ask employers in the private sector to give paid leave to their employees who are affected. Yesterday, the government had announced that they would be giving emergency leave to civil servants who were affected by the floods. More than 30,000 people were displaced and evacuated due to the floods that hit Klang Valley and 6 other states since Friday. Flooding also occurred in Pahang, Melaka, Negeri Sembilan, Terengganu, Kelantan and Perak.
There have been some suggestions that Perikatan Nasional, the coalition that was formed in the wake of the Sheraton move last year when Bersatu broke away from Pakatan Harapan, get back together with Pakatan Harapan to take on the 15th general elections. However, it doesn't look like that's going to be happening anytime soon.
Dalam bentuk PH yang sedia ada ni, tak mungkin. Bukan kita tak suka perpaduan. Pasal ada banyak yang agak ketara perbezaan.
This was the response from Bersatu President Muhyiddin Yassin when asked about the suggestion by former UMNO leader Idris Harun for Harapan to join forces with Perikatan Nasional against BN in GE15. At a press conference after Bersatu's 4th Annual General Assembly yesterday, Muhyiddin said he didn't think it could happen unless there were changes in Harapan. He pointed out that Bersatu had already experienced being part of Harapan, and the differences were what led the party to leave the coalition. He said Bersatu is also not willing to work with one of the parties within Harapan that is seen as being not pro-Malay and has a history of questioning the special right and privileges of the Malays. Previously, Idris, who is now with PKR, said that he believes Harapan needs a wow factor to win big in the 15th general election. He said one of the factors could be if Harapan and PN work together. Harapan chairperson Anwar Ibrahim had distanced himself from Idris's suggestion, saying that there were no discussions within the coalition on the proposed cooperation with PN. He said the proposal by Idris was his personal opinion, and the idea was never raised in PKR.
Well, that's a wrap for Kini News this evening. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us for the latest headlines on our social media on Twitter, Instagram, YouTube and Facebook. If you'd like to support the independent media, please do consider a subscription to MalaysiaKini.com. When you're heading out, don't forget your mask, and when you can, unless your home's overwhelmed by floods, please try to stay at home. I'm Daniel Anthony. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay safe, Malaysia.
Everyone wants to see these scenes bigger. That's why we've got bigger TVs for everyone to enjoy them bigger. Watch colors come to life on a large screen. LG NanoCell.